What's going on, everybody? Josh Engleman for Awesemo.com, and I am back with my NBA DFS contenders on FanDuel for Thursday, January 6th. Now be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. Only place you're going to get updates to my sims as we get closer to lock. Let me know in the comments section who is your favorite and least favorite of my contenders for today's slate. And finally, shout out to No House Advantage for being the presenting sponsor of this video. Use the promo code Awesemo when signing up to get up to $25 on your first deposit. Now we're rounding out the bottom of my top 10 with Terrence Mann, Dillon Brooks if he plays, Brandon Ingram, Chris Paul, and Alec Burks on the outside looking in. Who will be my favorites? My top 5 plays for today? It's time to find out. In first at number 5, I've got Reggie Jackson, point guard eligible, just 5,700, projected for about 33. The goal's 39. He's in the optimal lineup 32% of the time. I gave him 32 minutes. He's basically a fantasy point per minute guy when there's no Paul George out on the floor. That's what's going to be happening today. 28% usage, 19 real points, 5 assists, 4 boards. It's actually a slight pace up spot against Phoenix. And while Phoenix's defense is good, it's a very different defense when there's no DeAndre Ayton and no Jay Crowder and no JaVale McGee. Like, it's different when it's Bismack Biyombo and Jalen Smith. So I'm not even worried about it from a defensive matchup. I like the pace up spot and the pace up nature of the matchup. Reggie Jackson just slightly underpriced for 5,700. In at number 4, we've got Trey Lyles, power forward eligible only, 4,900, projected for 29. The goal's 36. He's in the optimal lineup 32% of the time. He is going to be the starting center until we get word about what's going on with the Pistons and the rest of their COVID guys. It's possible Isaiah Stewart is back today, at which point Trey Lyles stops being a very interesting play. For right now, 31 minutes for Lyles as the starting center, 0.95 fantasy points per minute, 15 points, 8 boards, and basically one of everything else. Pace neutral-ish matchup against Memphis. This is just another spot where Trey Lyles is going to start at center as long as Isaiah Stewart is still out for COVID. He's going to play north of 30 minutes, barring foul trouble or blowout, but he's only power forward eligible, which means he's easier to roster on FanDuel and therefore ranks a little bit higher. At number 3, I'm looking for Devin Booker. He's shooting guard eligible, 8,800, projected for 44. The goal's 52. He's in the optimal lineup 32% of the time. Not a lot of monster pay up options today, so Booker is sort of like the high end of things that you can get to. 35 minutes for Booker, 1.25 fantasy points per minute, 28 real points, 8 boards, 4 assists. Maybe you get a steal if you're lucky. That's what you're hoping for. You would hope for an additional position for him to be eligible in, but even still, and you can separate these guys by not a lot. There's not a ton between Devin Booker and Terrence Mann. If I took 1 minute away from Booker, he'd be down where Terrence Mann is. So there's not a lot separating these guys right now. But from a ceiling perspective, there aren't too many people that have a higher ceiling on this slate than Devin Booker. Next up at number 2, I'm going to Jaren Jackson. He's power forward center eligible, 6,600, projected for 36. The goal's 43. He's in the optimal lineup 37% of the time. I think there's a massive ceiling here. First of all, you get the power forward center eligibility, which really helps. I gave him 30 minutes, 1.2 fantasy points per minute in this spot, 25% usage, 18 points, 7 boards, an assist, a steal, 2 blocks, so 3 stocks total in a pace-up spot against the Pistons, who aren't very good. I think Jaren Jackson is primed for a really interesting spot here. I kind of want Isaiah Stewart to be out because Trey Lyles is just the homeless man's version of Jaren Jackson, and I think that he could really smash on a day like today. And I certainly don't think that Saddiq Bey is the guy that's going to be able to slow him down either, depending on how you're trying to do these matchups. So because of the price, because of the positions, and because of just his raw upside from a stock perspective on FanDuel in particular, Jaren Jackson gets to number 2. Now, before we get to that number 1 contender, one last reminder to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. Let me know in the comments who your favorite plays are. And then go to No House Advantage and sign up using that promo code Awesemo. The number 1 contender for today's slate is actually still coming from that same game, but we're going back to Detroit for Cade Cunningham. Point guard, shooting guard eligible, 6,800, projected for 38.5. The goal is 44. He's in the optimal lineup 40% of the time. In a competitive matchup, I think Cade Cunningham is playing 34 minutes, right around 1.1 fantasy points per minute. He's going to do more than anybody else on the floor. 27% usage, 18 points, 7.5 boards, 6 assists, 2 stocks. He's just looking really solid. Gonna need some help around him in Detroit, but solid, like up and down. Like he's gonna hit every single statistical category. That's very important to me, especially on a day like today where it does get kind of blurry. So assuming this game all right, I don't think that this game is going to stay competitive. The Pistons are massive dogs. But if it does stay competitive, which is a much larger percentage of time than people like to think it is, Cade Cunningham is going to play 34 minutes. Even in 28 minutes to 30 minutes, something like that, let's say he misses this final rotation, Cade Cunningham is still a very good play. But when it works out perfectly, he's the best play on the slate. Alrighty, folks, that will do it. Those are my NBA DFS contenders on FanDuel for Thursday, January 6th. DraftKings version of this video is around here somewhere. Check it out. Good luck tonight, everybody. Win that money. We're back again, closing out the work week tomorrow with another edition of the Contenders.